We often think intelligence is something fixed, an IQ score, a degree on the wall, a fast answer in a heated debate. But the Stoics saw it differently. For them, intelligence was not just how much you knew, but how well you lived. It was the quiet ability to respond with clarity, the discipline to think slowly in chaos, and the humility to keep learning, even in silence. Marcus Aurelius didn't write to impress others. He wrote to improve himself. Epictetus didn't chase applause. He taught that true power lies in ruling your own mind. Seneca didn't demand certainty. He found strength in preparation. Intelligence, in the Stoic sense, isn't loud. It's grounded. It's less about being clever and more about becoming clear. In this 10-part series, we'll explore 10 Stoic techniques that, if practiced, will sharpen not just your thinking, but your being. Each is practical. Each is powerful. Each is a path not just to more knowledge, but to more wisdom. Let's begin. Part 1. Embrace change as a teacher. Change is often seen as disruption, a threat, an inconvenience. But for the Stoic, change is not just inevitable, it's instructive. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Observe constantly that all things take place by change, and accustom yourself to consider that the nature of the universe loves nothing so much as to change the things which are, and to make new things like them." In other words, intelligence begins with adaptation. The most brilliant mind in the room is not the one who resists reality, it's the one who collaborates with it. To be mentally agile means not fearing change, but studying it, learning from it, using it as feedback. When your routines get disrupted, when your plans fall apart, when relationships shift, pause. Ask, what is this teaching me? Not in a passive way, but in a grounded, active stance. This is not romanticizing suffering, it's refining your ability to respond to uncertainty without being broken by it. Think of your mind like water. If it's rigid, it cracks when shaken. But if it's fluid, it finds its form in every situation. Every new challenge is a classroom. Every loss contains a hidden curriculum. Intelligence is not about staying safe. It's about becoming skilled at staying steady. Practice this. When something changes suddenly, replace "why is this happening to me?" with "what skill is this inviting me to strengthen?" That one shift in language can turn a breakdown into a breakthrough. And that's Stoicism at its core. So embrace change, not just as a fact of life, but as a faculty of growth. Because the more fluent you become in transition, the more unshakable your mind becomes in motion. Part 2. Embrace discomfort for growth. In a world addicted to ease, discomfort becomes our greatest teacher, if we let it. The Stoics didn't seek suffering, but they refused to run from it. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." He understood what many forget. Real growth rarely comes from comfort. We often associate intelligence with speed, with ease, with natural talent. But the Stoic sees intelligence in the willingness to do hard things, to sit with tension, to persist through confusion, to fail and try again with intention. Every time you resist the temptation to escape discomfort, you train your mind to stay present in difficulty. And presence is the birthplace of insight. Mental sharpness isn't forged in convenience. It's shaped in the daily choice to lean in when things get heavy. That includes facing uncomfortable truths about yourself, having honest conversations, or pushing past the resistance to start something meaningful. These moments are invitations to stretch, to confront the edges of who you think you are, and to meet the person you're becoming. Practice this. Choose one small discomfort each day: a cold shower, a difficult task, a moment of stillness when your mind wants distraction. Approach it not with dread, but with curiosity. Ask, what happens to me when I stay in this? Let your breath be your anchor. Let your presence be your power. The Stoics knew that avoidance weakens us, while engagement sharpens us. So don't rush to soothe every discomfort. Some were sent to sculpt you. True intelligence doesn't just solve problems, it endures pressure. And in discomfort, you develop not just resilience, but clarity. Part 3. Practice deliberate disengagement. In a culture that rewards constant stimulation, nonstop engagement, and the appearance of being everywhere all at once, stepping back feels counterintuitive. But to the Stoic, disengagement isn't avoidance, it's strategy. Epictetus taught, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. That is, be willing to detach from the noise that others chase. Deliberate disengagement means consciously choosing what you give your attention to, and more importantly, what you don't, because your mental clarity, your emotional energy, and your sense of self are all shaped by what you consume and what you respond to. Intelligence isn't just about having more input, it's about refining your input. It's the ability to say, this conversation isn't worth my energy, this opinion doesn't need my reaction, this distraction doesn't serve my direction. We think we need to stay in every debate, reply to every message, read every comment, prove every point. But that's not intelligence, that's entanglement. The Stoic practices stillness. They walk away, not out of weakness, but out of inner wealth. They understand that every response costs something, and sometimes the wisest move is no move at all. Practice this. Choose one moment in your day to consciously step away. Log off earlier. Let the phone ring. Leave a text unanswered. Sit in the discomfort of silence and observe what rises. That space you reclaim is not empty. It's sacred. In that pause, your mind recalibrates, your nervous system resets, your intuition returns. Deliberate disengagement isn't withdrawal from life. It's a return to center. It's how the Stoic remains focused in a world that profits from distraction. Because the sharper your attention, the stronger your perception. And in that perception lies the roots of real intelligence. Part 4. Cultivate lifelong learning. The Stoic never believes they've arrived. No matter how much they know, how many books they've read, how many experiences they've had, the true Stoic remains a student. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, still reminded himself each day that he was learning how to live. That's not modesty, that's mastery. To be intelligent in the Stoic sense is not to accumulate facts, it's to remain open to change, open to correction, open to being wrong, open to becoming more. Intelligence is not a destination, it's a dynamic relationship with truth. And truth evolves as you do. Lifelong learning isn't just about formal education. It's about curiosity. It's about paying attention to the world, to people, to ideas, and especially to yourself. The Stoic studies not just philosophy, but their own reactions, their own desires, their own blind spots. They use every experience as a mirror, every setback as a curriculum. Practice this. Set aside 10 minutes each day for structured learning, a few pages of a Stoic text, a journal reflection, a question you wrestle with. And beyond that, let your daily life teach you. What made you angry today? What challenged your ego? What surprised you with joy? These are lessons, if you're present enough to see them. Real intelligence isn't just about storing knowledge, it's about applying it. And applying requires humility. It requires the discipline to revisit your assumptions, refine your judgments, and re-engage with the world from a wiser, quieter place. So never stop learning. Not because you are lacking, but because you are alive. And life, in all its beauty and difficulty, is the greatest classroom you'll ever sit in. Part 5. Practice gratitude as a mental discipline. Gratitude is not just a feeling, it's a form of awareness. The Stoics didn't see thankfulness as sentimental fluff, they saw it as a deliberate act of perception. Seneca advised that we should rehearse our blessings as often as we rehearse our fears. Why? Because what we focus on expands, and what we practice, we become. To the Stoic, gratitude is a sharpening tool for the mind. It trains you to see what is present instead of obsessing over what is missing. It redirects the anxious mind away from lack and toward sufficiency. And in doing so, it clears space for clearer thought, calmer emotion, and deeper understanding. In the modern world, we often measure intelligence by ambition, by how much more we want. But the Stoic measures intelligence by contentment, by how deeply we can engage with what we already have, not as a passive resignation, but as an active presence. When you practice gratitude, you quiet the noise of craving. You ground yourself in the reality of enough. Try this. At the end of each day, write down 3 things, not just that went well, but that challenged you and taught you. Be grateful not just for the easy, but for the instructive. Did someone frustrate you? Thank them for revealing where you're still reactive. Did something fail? Be grateful for what you now know not to repeat. Gratitude, when practiced consistently, becomes more than a journal entry. It becomes a lens, a way of seeing, a mindset of resilience. Because the person who is grounded in gratitude isn't easily shaken by loss, they've already trained their mind to notice what remains. So when your thoughts race, your focus scatters, or your ambition overwhelms, return to this simple but profound Stoic principle. Pause, notice, appreciate. That pause is intelligence in action. Part 6. Observe carefully before judging. We live in a world that moves fast. Opinions are formed in seconds, judgments are thrown like darts, and conclusions are drawn without full context. But the Stoic mind is slow to judge and quick to observe. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. True intelligence begins not with answers, but with attention. To observe without rushing to label is an act of restraint, and restraint is a rare form of wisdom. When you pause before reacting, you give yourself the gift of perspective. You allow facts to surface, you give emotions space to cool, you let reality speak for itself rather than drowning it in assumptions. Practicing careful observation means noticing what's beneath the surface, in yourself and in others. When someone offends you, ask, what might they be carrying? When a situation irritates you, ask, what part of me feels threatened? Observation is the root of empathy, and empathy is the soil where understanding grows. The Stoics were fierce students of human behavior. They watched their own reactions like scientists, not to shame themselves, but to study themselves. They believed that the unexamined mind is the most dangerous mind of all. So, if you seek to be more intelligent, start by seeing more clearly. Practice this. Before forming a strong opinion, challenge yourself to ask 3 questions. What don't I know yet? What might I be projecting? What would a neutral observer notice here? These small checks slow the reaction and open the door to reflection. In the rush to speak, the Stoic listens. In the urge to label, the Stoic questions. And in doing so, they develop not just mental strength, but moral clarity. Part 7. Listen deeply and speak less. In a culture where everyone wants to be heard, few are truly listening. But the Stoic sees silence not as absence, but as power. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." That wasn't just a call to politeness. It was a blueprint for wisdom. Listening is a superpower. It's a form of attention that reveals intelligence not through words, but through presence. When you listen without preparing your response, without trying to win, without needing to fix, you create space. And in that space, people reveal not just their stories, but their hearts. That's where understanding begins. The Stoic doesn't speak to dominate, they speak to elevate. But before they do, they listen, not passively, but actively. They listen to the emotion beneath the words, to the silence between the lines, to the patterns of a person's struggle. They're not in a hurry to advise. They know that true insight comes after full presence. Practice this. In your next conversation, resist the urge to interrupt or insert your own story. Let the other person finish completely. Ask one question that shows you're not just hearing, you're understanding. This isn't about self-erasure, it's about clarity. The less you speak from ego, the more your words carry weight. Speaking less doesn't mean thinking less, it means thinking better. Because when you listen first, your speech becomes more intentional. Your voice becomes more trusted. Your insight becomes more rare. So choose silence when noise is tempting. Choose depth when surface is easy. And choose to listen, because in that act, you prove your intelligence before you say a single word. Part 8. Create space for silence and reflection. In a world that prizes productivity, stillness is an act of rebellion. But for the Stoic, silence is not a void, it's a source. It's in the quiet moments, the gaps between doing and reacting, that true understanding begins to take root. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, "Not for others, but for himself, in silence before dawn, as the empire still slept." That wasn't indulgence, it was discipline. When we strip away noise, the constant hum of opinion, comparison, distraction, we meet the unfiltered truth of our own mind. That truth isn't always comfortable, but it is clarifying. Reflection reveals what performance hides. It reveals the motives behind the actions, the fears behind the habits, the truth beneath the narrative. The Stoic makes space for this clarity not by accident, but by design. They don't wait for life to slow down. They build slowness into their day. This is not laziness. This is training, because wisdom doesn't rush. It ripens. Practice this. Begin or end your day with 5 minutes of intentional silence. No music, no phone, just you and your breath. In that space, ask yourself, what emotion did I carry all day? What thought kept recurring? What truth have I been avoiding? Let the silence speak. Let the questions echo. The more comfortable you become with quiet, the clearer your thinking becomes. Because silence filters out the static. It allows the mind to settle like sediment in water, revealing what's truly there beneath the surface. The Stoic doesn't need constant input to feel alive. They find life in presence, in observation, in reflection. And from that space, their decisions become sharper, their reactions slower, their wisdom more embodied. So don't fear silence, cultivate it, protect it, and let it shape your inner life into something more still, more thoughtful, more whole. Part 9. Seek wisdom in diverse interactions. The Stoic doesn't isolate themselves from difference, they learn from it. Wisdom isn't built in echo chambers, it's forged in contrast, in complexity, in the friction of unfamiliar perspectives. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Adapt yourself to the life you have been given, and truly love the people with whom destiny has surrounded you." That wasn't passive acceptance, it was a call to grow through engagement. When we only surround ourselves with those who agree with us, we reinforce bias, not insight. But when we lean into conversations that challenge our assumptions, that stretch our thinking, that offer unfamiliar worldviews, we sharpen, not by force, but by friction. The Stoic seeks not to win every argument, but to expand every understanding. Intelligent people know how to listen without needing to convert. They can sit with disagreement without losing composure. They don't avoid opposing voices, they welcome them as opportunities to refine their own. This doesn't mean surrendering your values, it means strengthening them through testing, through discourse, through exposure to other paths. Practice this. Once a week, intentionally engage with an idea you don't fully agree with. Read a book outside your worldview. Have a respectful conversation with someone whose life experience is different from yours, not to debate, but to understand. The Stoic knows that diverse interactions are mirrors. They reflect parts of ourselves we've neglected, challenge blind spots we've overlooked, and reveal truths we couldn't reach alone. They make the inner world more honest by expanding the outer one. Wisdom isn't built on certainty, it's built on curiosity. So approach difference not as a threat, but as a teacher. Because every person you meet knows something you don't. and the one who listens deeply enough walks away a little more whole. Part 10. Choose curiosity over judgment. The final and perhaps most transformative Stoic technique is simple yet radical. Choose curiosity over judgment. In a world that quickly labels, assumes, and dismisses, curiosity is a sign of strength. Epictetus reminds us, it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Judgment closes the door. Curiosity leaves it ajar. Judging is easy. It's quick, it's ego-serving, and it often gives the illusion of clarity, but it short-circuits learning. When we judge a situation, a person, or even ourselves prematurely, we stop asking questions. We stop observing. We shut down the path to wisdom. Curiosity, on the other hand, invites exploration. It says, "What don't I see yet? What might I learn if I wait just a little longer?" The Stoic chooses curiosity not out of naivety, but out of reverence for complexity. They understand that most things and people are not what they first appear to be. So, instead of reacting with certainty, they respond with openness. This makes them not only wiser, but gentler, more discerning, more humane. Practice this. The next time you catch yourself judging your own reaction, someone's words, a frustrating outcome, pause. Ask one curious question instead. Why might they feel that way? What belief of mine is being challenged here? What else could this mean? Let those questions soften your stance and stretch your awareness. Curiosity transforms criticism into conversation and confusion into clarity. It turns conflict into an invitation and resistance into revelation. And that, more than knowledge, more than performance, is intelligence in action. So be curious about people, about pain, about patterns, about the parts of yourself you've yet to meet. Because the wisest minds are not those who declare, they're the ones who inquire. You've just walked through 10 Stoic techniques, not just to grow smarter, but to become clearer, calmer, and more grounded in how you meet the world. Intelligence is not about having all the answers. It's about asking better questions. It's about becoming the kind of person whose presence speaks before they do. So take these practices and let them shape you quietly. Let change teach you. Let discomfort sharpen you. Let silence steady you. Let others surprise you. Let gratitude anchor you. Let curiosity lead you. And remember, wisdom doesn't rush. It ripens. Thank you for listening.